If you're hunting cats and you need to gather light, try obviously get the bigger optics on your scopes, the bigger front to gather more light so you can see your crosshairs. Again, I'll keep saying that illuminated reticle, it does help. It's definitely a plus on all the game. In low light, you can really know where you're going to put your bullets.
Choose a scope that gives you a lot of light, or a red dot. I've seen so many times the red dot works because a lot of cats that you hunt is very late afternoon, just at dusk, early mornings. And again, if you have that scope that gives you a bit more light inside, you've got the red dot with that reticle. It helps you to identify more specifically where that shoulder or where you want to put that shot, rather than having a crosshairs that's fainted and you are not sure. And if you're in a situation like that, we come back again to what I've said. Do not pull that trigger. It will be there tomorrow. You need to be acquainted, you need to know your gun, you need to know your scope. It doesn't help you come to Africa with a gun that you've never shot.
Yeah, no, I mean, at the end of the day, the client is making the shot, so he needs to be comfortable with that shot. You may have a client that's 80 years old. His eyesight is not going to be as good as a PH that's 40 years old. A leopard comes in at last light. I may be able to see that leopard quite clearly through my binoculars. Through his scope, he might not be able to see the cat. And you don't want him taking a shot like that, because you end up with problems. Same goes for lion. And then just animals in dark shadow, in thick bush. A buffalo, even at 30 yards in deep shadow and some brush, for someone who's not trained for that, it can be very difficult for them.
It's because of the big game, obviously it's the excitement, and it's a lifelong dream to get the big five. It's a trophy of a lifetime. So there's a lot of pressure on the hunter. There's also pressure on the professional hunter getting that animal. And some of the younger PHs I've seen have made mistakes where they rush a client, and you've got to be, as the client who's a shooter, also to take into consideration. If the guy's rushing you, you're not happy, don't pull the trigger. At the end of the day, it's when you squeeze the trigger that's when it happens. So you're in control of it. Try and just make sure you're ready and do the best of your ability.
For cat hunting, you want to have warm clothing. Normally in the winter months, it can be really cool in the morning and the evening. And you want to have a fabric that is quiet when you move, like a fleece. Warm and very quiet. And when you're sitting dead still and there's not a sound in the bush, everything is noisy. So that's really important as well.
A lot of times animals see movement, not camouflage or color. Yes, for sure, you don't want to wear light colored clothing or light colored hats. They can see you coming, you standing out. The more darker type of green clothing, safari clothing, but for sure something that's quiet, something that doesn't make a lot of noise, not only for cat blinds, but even when you're hunting other stuff.
Make sure that you're on a good setup, a good bench. Make sure you've got a steady, even a sandbag. You've got the best opportunity to really put the bullet in the right place. A lot of preparation for all the leopard and lion. It does help the outcome a lot. That's what I found.
Another point to consider is your physical condition. If you're going to be hunting elephant, which typically is tracking. If you're hunting elephant in Zimbabwe, you find the tracks and you follow. You just try and be in the best physical shape that you can be in. If you can practice to a point where you can walk a couple of miles a day, that's going to help you a lot on your safari.
It's definitely one of the biggest things is communication. There's no such thing as a stupid question. With any of these questions with the PH, communicate with them.
Communication between a PH, professional hunter, and a client is 150% of what happens after that. Many mistakes seen from PHs, I've done them myself when I was younger, as I said. You put the sticks up, put the client's gun in the sticks, and then you stand back and wait for the client to take the shot.
Yeah, I think it's good to communicate, especially before. If you're hunting buffalo, talk as much as you can about, what to expect on the shots, which shots you're not going to take. For example, the frontal shot on a buffalo is a little bit risky.
Frontals, in my point of view, should be avoided as far and much as possible on any animal in Africa. You have an inch and a half margin of mistake. Either people shoot too deep, they shoot them in the briskets. They shoot too high, they pull it a little bit to the right, a little bit to the left. You go into what we call no man's land and you've got problems on your hands. I prefer to rather let an animal go than to make somebody take a shot that's risky.
And because of the shape of the rib cage and that, there's a good chance that you could end up wounding the buffalo if you don't hit it exactly the right place with the right angle. So that sort of thing should also be discussed beforehand, not when you ride up on the buffalo.
From the time you get ready to maybe take a shot at an animal, whether it's in a blind, whether it's on shooting sticks, whether it's lying down, you as the professional hunter and the client should communicate with each other till the shot is taken.
You know, if you're not happy, there's something in the way that you think your bullet's going to hit, because he cannot see what you're seeing through your telescopic sight. He might be 3 foot taller than you, or a foot taller than you, or he might be standing to the side where he's in the clear, and where you are on the sticks, there's something in the way. If you don't tell him that breakdown in communication, this could mean a really, really big problem in a situation where you now have to follow a dangerous animal when it could have been shot dead.
A leopard eating a bait or moving around on a branch every 2 seconds or couple of seconds presents a different angle shot to a client. If a leopard's in a tree and you tell the client, there's the cat, shoot it, and the client has not studied or known or have the knowledge what to do, it's pretty much guaranteed he's going to end up shooting that cat where he's not supposed to, because you are not communicating. Communication, as far as I'm concerned, is imperative. It is the most important by far, with shot placement and taking the right shots at the right time. We live here. We study this. We do this as a living. We in amongst it every single day. A client comes to Africa once a year, and I'm not saying that clients that have not done 25, 30 safaris in Africa do not have the experience. We are never too old to learn. We are never too old to do the right thing and to pay attention to doing the right thing.
From my experience, I've had more buffalo wounded with heavy calibers, your 500s and 470s and so on, than I have with a 375 or a 416. And it all boils down to people not being comfortable shooting those large calibers. There's very few guys that can. Yeah, for big game, I would recommend a 375 with a scope, with good solids and softs. If you prefer a 416 and you shoot that well, that's also fine.
Big game, for sure, a minimum of a 375. People talk about these other different bullets or calibers that is close to a 375. A 375 is a 375. A 416 is a 416.
The doubles and the heavy calibers, the really heavy ones, I would steer away from unless you really are capable of shooting those well, which few people are. So whatever you're comfortable with, but don't come out with a big double because it's fashionable, because it won't be a good idea.
On a double, you might have that second shot, as a lot of people say, that's quicker than the bolt action. But let's all be honest, as old salted PHs. A leopard that charges you, if you're not shooting a semi-automatic shotgun, what are the chances out of 10 that you're ever going to even get that second shot off? So there's pros and cons to it. On elephant, I would agree, maybe that second shot on a double will be quicker. When you get to your third and fourth shot, for sure the bolt action is going to be better. So it's a pro and a con. At the end of the day, it comes back to shoot the gun that you know and that you can do the best shot placement with. That is my point of view.
But it's worth taking at least a month before coming to Africa, familiarizing with that gun. You don't want to sit on a bench and hammer yourself with a big gun. I always say go on the bench, make sure the gun is shooting straight, and then utilize really good shooting sticks. There are shooting sticks available now that's got a flat platform in the front to make up the front, and then there's a V at the back, and it's really nice now. It's like shooting off a bench, very steady. practice off them. If you're going to use those in Africa, take them with you.
I mean, sticks, 80% of the animals we shoot are probably shot off shooting sticks. So, you've got to know how to shoot off shooting sticks and be comfortable with it. The sticks are way steadier than trying to shoot freehand. You're not shooting at vast distances off the sticks, typically under 100 meters, 30 to 70 yards, in these conditions here. So that's not too difficult.
Download your ammunition, make sure you separate those from the ammo that you're going to use, and then practice with those. There's not such a hard recoil. You don't get into bad habits of flinching, because shooting big game rifles and continuously shooting them, it is tedious on your body, it's tedious on your shoulder.
Bullets, yes, there's lots of bullets on the market, but we all fall back to the good old bullets that we know. A Swift A-frame, a Barnes X, trophy bonded bear claw. There's lots of good bullets on the market.
I'd like to set my big game rifles to 50 meters. Most of the dangerous game is up close and personal for me. So I get my guys all dead on at 50 meters, and then I tell them 2 shots at the target on a bench with the sandbag, make sure it's on perfect, and then practice off sticks.
If you can attend some of those shooting schools that can improve your shooting, where you're shooting off shooting sticks and, hunting like conditions off the side of a post, a tree, a rock, kneeling down, sitting down, freehand, even if it's only at, 30 to 50 meters. If you can practice, those kind of shooting skills, that will really help your hunting on safari, definitely.
Even though you might not need to use those calibers at home, please take them and shoot them. Practice with them. Keep on shooting them while you're back home, whether you're hunting with them or not. The more that you practice, the luckier you get. It's the same with anything, with any rifle, with any scope, with anything that you use as hunting equipment. You need to keep practicing.
You can't practice enough and get ready enough on a big game safari. These are big and expensive hunts, and it's not just that, it's obviously you don't want to wound and injure an animal and lose a beautiful trophy of a lifetime. You as the client behind the gun, when you're dealing with dangerous game, definitely you've got to be happy, you've got to be confident in yourself and your ability, and do the best you can. Obviously, I mean, at the end of the day, we're all human and make mistakes or the animal moves, but it is very important to make sure you've got a good shot and you have a good rest and you're happy, and then squeeze the trigger.
Obviously your shot placement is crucial. It's what makes or breaks a safari.
Shot placement on Africa animals, especially the big game, the dangerous game, is, I would say, the most important of anything you can do while you are in Africa, especially your first shot. Not the second shot, not the third shot, not emptying a magazine like a lot of people do.
And the African animals are extremely tough, and I'm sure they're way tougher than the animals you find in Europe or North America. Their survival instincts, I think, are way stronger, and they're under constant pressure from different predators and the severe climates that they live in, extreme heat, droughts and so on. So they are very, very tough. Even the small antelopes and so on are extremely tough.
Shot placement, to study it, there's a book that was produced by Dr. Kevin Robertson many years ago that all of us know. I think people just do not take the time to study these things. Africa animals have got different lung, heart cavities than what European game have got, than what American game have got. I always make a point of it to tell clients, when you want to shoot an animal, we start with broadside shots. You go up the front leg, cut the body in half, and pull the trigger in the middle of the shoulder. You not only hit heart, lung, or double lungs, but you also break shoulders, you break bone, which all counts at the end of the day with that first shot of shot placement. If you have a quartering on shot, if you have a quarter away shot, be very sure that you will always pull the shot towards the opposite shoulder.
Leopard and buffalo are probably the two out of the big five that hurt, and buffalo especially kill a lot of our friends and professional hunters because they're such a big and powerful animal, and they are evil. Once they get wounded and injured, they want to come and hurt you.
You can hunt 50 buffalo in a row and never have a problem, and then you'll have 3 wounded buffalo in a row that give you a problem. So yeah, you can never let your guard down.
They are very, very sneaky. They'll go in a circle, they'll pick their spot, they'll go into thick brush. And that's one of the biggest problems when the buffalo comes. There's a lot of brush in the way, your bullets aren't making the mark, you can't really see it clearly, but you've got to try and slow it down or stop it or put it down before it gets to you. So buffalo is definitely one of the worst. Leopard, because it's so camouflaged, that guy can be lying 2 meters away and you haven't seen it. The nice thing about leopard, generally you don't get to get killed. The lion as well, again, once it's wounded, it'll go hide up in thick brush. The nice thing about a lion, generally it does growl just before it charges, so it does give you a little bit of warning, and not like the leopard where sometimes the leopard is completely silent and he just flies at you. You just see a flash and a blur. Generally, most elephants want to get away from you, so it's a long, tedious work. Some of them, if they're mortally wounded, will then go up and get into the thick stuff and then charge you. And that's where it becomes obviously dangerous. And they're big animals, and if they get onto you, or get close to you with their trunk or feet or tusks, you're pretty much in a lot of trouble. That's why it's called the big dangerous game. So
people, I don't think, realize and understand how fast and how quick these animals charge you. And at the end of the day, yes, you can be a good shot, but in my point of view, somebody up there or somebody from somewhere is looking after you in situations like that. No matter how good a shot you are, 9 out of 10 times, it's the lucky shot that kills the animal, and not how good a shot you are, because of the speed that they come at you.
You know, most of these animals become really dangerous when wounded, although you still get unprovoked charges, attacks from buffalo, elephant especially, and then you can even get, a lion that's been wounded through fighting, or a bad wound, or a leopard in a snare, something like that.
some of my most scariest moments is dangerous game that's been injured by lions, or if it's like buffalo, have been injured by a lion that's lying up in a bush. When you're following a wounded animal, everyone's on key, everyone's on alert. That's when you're walking through the brush and you're not ready for it. For me, that's some of the scariest moments I've had in my life, in my career.
Get out of the way.
I would like to once again just say to clients coming to Africa, please leave any egos that you might have behind. Be humble. Respect Africa and Africa's animals for what they are and how they are. As much as they are normal animals, they can be some of the most dangerous you will ever encounter in your life. Don't put yourself, your PH, anybody around them's lives in danger, or let them get taken away from their families, from their children, by not being serious, by not taking things serious. When you come and hunt in Africa, to be educated, to take the time to make that first shot count. If there's anything that I could ask international hunters, it will be that.
There are many forms of poaching in Africa. Bushmeat, both subsistence and commercial. Timber, fish, pangolin, ivory, rhino horn, and even succulents. As human populations grow, pressure on natural resources becomes ever more intense, and the work to protect wild places becomes more demanding. Hunting safari operations across the continent are on the front line of this battle. Patrol, Anti-Poaching in Action, is a twice-monthly online newsletter highlighting the anti-poaching work of safari hunting operations across Africa. The report comprises short documentaries, written articles, and photo essays. The goal is not to glamorize anti-poaching work, but to show the behind-the-scenes grind of this relentless battle. Revealing the unheralded work of these operations is imperative to highlight their significant contribution to conservation in Africa. Go to patrolling.org and subscribe.